Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to bring a quick message for you all in regards to being a chosen seed, where you always might have heard it's just something about you. You're different, right? I remember when I was working as a registered nurse, I had a patient who was not in very good condition. She was bedbound, brain dead, and her husband would come and visit with her practically daily, maybe every other day. And so, because I was her regular nurse, we saw each other quite often. It was an older man. And at that time, I was not nearly as spiritual as I am now. I was more in alignment with the Hebrew Israelite um, belief system. And so I definitely stood out as a nurse because I was the only one there with long skirts and fringes on and head wraps, right? But I remember speaking with her husband. I spent a lot of time speaking with my client, not my clients, but my patients and their family members. I actually spent more time doing that than I did anything as a nurse. So um, he, I remember talking to him one day, and he was asking me about her feeding tube. And I was telling him, like, look, I really just recommend that you put her on a feeding that is more vegan based, because I was telling him it was too much sugars in there, too much dairy products, and it just wasn't good for her health. And, the constipation and all of those things that she was dealing with was likely due to the feeding. Now, these were things that as a nurse, you generally don't tell the patients because it's like a conflict of interest. But I was more so concerned about the moral aspect of things. Like, if I knew something that was in a better alignment for the patient, I would at least let the family member know and allow them to go and make the inquiry to the doctor. Because as a nurse, you bring something like that to a doctor, they'll pretty much tell you to stay in your place, right? So I took it directly to the family members. But he said to me one day, because I was going more into the spiritual reason behind staying away from certain foods and things of that nature. And he said to me one day, he said, can you write your name, your full name down on this piece of paper? So he handed it to me. And he said, I want you to put your name on that paper because I'm going to put it inside of my Bible, and I'm going to leave it there so that when I end up passing on, I want my children to know that I knew you. He said, because it's something very special about you. And I want my children to know that I knew you when you actually become very famous. Now, mind you, I was working as a nurse, so I didn't see any potential of me being known for any reason outside of the facilities that I worked at. But he saw something in me that I did not see in myself. This would not be the first time that I've heard something like this. And I'm sure for you all as the chosen, you might have been told from a very young age. It's just, and you hear this not from the people that's in your intimate space, not usually from your family members or those that you see every day. You hear this from people who you don't really know that well, but they see something in you that stands out from practically everyone else that they deal with. And they're the ones that will point it out. So I've had many of those scenarios throughout my life, but this one stood out the most because he saw something that would be far greater than what even I could see. And so I wanted to bring this message forward because, you'll find that perfect strangers will prophesy your destiny. And these are the people that are sent into your life, even though they may not stay for very long. You might see that person one time and never see them again, but they will plant a seed within you to remind you of what you've been placed here to do. And so if they come in and say you're very different, you're going to be very great, keep going, it's something very special about you, it's because the Most High and your spiritual team wants to remind you that what you're currently doing is not your purpose. Your purpose is far greater. Your destiny is far greater than what even you have been able to imagine or experience yet. And so all throughout your life as a chosen, you encounter people who will remind you of these things. And so now in the age of Aquarius, as you begin to awaken and you're coming into remembrance of who you are and what you was placed here to do, you start to realize why so many people were constantly pointing out how different you were and how special you were, though. And it highlights the fact that you were never meant to just be like everyone else. You were never meant to just go along with the sleeple or the sheeple, as I like to call them. It was never your destiny to fit in with the crowd. And so there were people that would be strategically placed in your life during different seasons to remind you, no, it's greater than what you're currently doing. This is not it. I see something in you that goes beyond what you might see in yourself. So let me tell you what I see. And so you want to take note of that. Pay attention to that, because he apparently had a gift of seeing that I did not recognize. He saw something in me that I had no clue. I was just expressing things to him, but he saw my heart, and he saw the compassion and the empathy that I naturally possess, because that's always been me. I worked in healthcare from the age of 18 all the way up until I stopped working as a registered nurse about 3.5, 4 years ago. And so with that being said, I always was a natural caregiver. I cared very deeply for my patients. I cared for their family members, and I was a very unselfish caretaker when I had those roles. And so people are able to see something in you when you are that one person that stands out. They have all of these other people to compare you to. You're not comparing yourself to other people because you're just doing what you naturally know is right. And so you don't see it as being anything spectacular, but the people who are observing you and comparing you to others who could potentially operate in that energy, but they choose not to, they see it. They see the clear difference in the energy, and they know it's something about you. And so that's why they'll tell you, like, thank you, or they'll remind you, you're the only one that does this, or you're the only one. And so if you've always heard that, it's because all throughout your life, you have literally been sowing seeds. That natural nurturing and compassionate energy that you had towards others, being of service to others, even though in that moment you didn't feel like you was being of service, you was just being you. Those were all seeds that would be planted towards your ultimate harvest. And so the harvest does not just look like material harvest, although that comes with it. The harvest looks like the awakening of your spiritual gifts. It looks like an overflow of peace, an overflow of love, an overflow of happiness and beautiful memories being created. It looks like an overflow of spiritual gifts, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. All of those things come to you because you spent all of your life planting seeds, but not just planting them, but planting them in good soil, because you touched those people's lives. And a lot of times, I'm telling you, is not the people that you sold to in your intimate circle, because I'm not going to say it's not all of them. Some of them you sowed in good soil, but others you were sowing on rocky land, right? Where the weeds would come and choke up those seeds, and they really didn't have the potential to sprout, because you were over giving in the wrong direction. You was giving to people who did not really appreciate your nature, your natural compassion and nurturing energy. And so it was almost like casting pearls before swine. But it was when you stepped outside of those people that you knew in your karmic family and started giving to perfect strangers or people that you worked around, they actually appreciated it, and they received those nuggets of wisdom or those kind words of the times that you listened. They received it from a space of love. And that's what made it good soil. That's what made those seeds plant in good soil. And so they've been nurtured over time. And so this is why many of the chosen can anticipate a harvest that's coming in and know that, yes, you are very unique. You are very different. Who you are, the core of who you are, the spirit that you embody, the compassion that you naturally have, all of that is very unique. And because it's unique, you're being gifted with a very unique gift that you are being called to show to the world. And so those people that prophesied your destiny, that told you you were going to be something, you were going to be someone great, you were going to have a great story to tell, you were going to go on to help a lot of people, you would be blessed beyond measure. They was not just saying that because they thought you were a kind person. No, they were saying that because they understood that they was entertaining an earth angel. You just didn't know it. So Don't take those moments of prophecy with a grain of salt. Know that they were pivotal moments in your life to reawaken you and remind you of what would be your destiny moving ahead in the future. So that's my message for you all. If you find that it resonates in any way, please be sure to like, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below so that other chosen seeds can know that they're not alone out here. We all have very similar experiences because we are all a part of a greater body of Christ consciousness together. And so we might have things to take place at different points in our lives. Our stories may look different, but the vibration of who we are is very similar. And that's why we're able to connect in these ways. So that's my message. I love you, and I'll talk to you all next time.